Hello and welcome back everybody to this week's final live stream from Breakout Solutions and Decrypting Crypto. My name is Wasim and I'm your host here tonight. And as you guys are well accustomed to, every Friday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon we go through the latest news updates, market watch, Twitter highlights, as well as adoption updates. And as always, we bring you guys the latest and best news of what's happening out there in the cryptoverse. And right now, as you guys would have seen, things are heating up. Bitcoin reached went over 31,000 yesterday for the new all-time high for this year. It is having a bit of a dip right now, and that's why we had this that funny meme to start off with showing how the whales are accumulating during the dip. Now, as you guys would have heard from us over and over again, this is the year to be accumulating, and we're going to see right now one of the first news story that we're going to look at is BlackRock's Larry Fink. Now, if you haven't heard, Larry Fink was on a TV show recently, and he actually spoke very, very highly of Bitcoin. Now, before I go into what I was going to talk about, I'm going to play the video for you guys so you can actually hear yourself what he said, and then we'll go into the news. All right, so let me put that up.
And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold in many ways. Instead of investing in gold as a hedge against inflation, a hedge against the onerous problems of any one country, or the devaluation of your currency, whatever country you're in. Let's be clear, Bitcoin is an international asset. It's not based on any one currency. And so it can represent an asset that people can play as an alternative. I would call the foundation of BlackRock is about hope. You invest for retirement because you believe tomorrow is better than today.
All right, so if you listen to what he was saying, he was saying that Bitcoin is an international asset. Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. Bitcoin is digitized gold. And Bitcoin is a way to invest without having third-party risk. Now, what he actually said was without having been tied to any country or any of their problems, which, in other words, being tied to third-party risk and counterparty risk, which is something that we will be talking about here a lot on this channel, which is when you hold your own Bitcoin in your own wallet, you remove counterparty risk. You don't have to rely on anyone. It's the trust is in your name. It's like having gold in your own safe. You don't have to worry about anybody else. You just have to make sure the safe is safe and no one gets to it. Now, before I get into the first story about, you guys now have seen what he said. And the first story that I've got actually with about Larry Fink is this one from NASDAQ, and where they go, Larry Fink acknowledges Bitcoin's potential to revolutionize finance. And they just talk about that exact same clip that I showed you guys. We do believe that if we create more tokenized assets and securities, that is what Bitcoin is, it could revolutionize finance. It emphasizes that Bitcoin being an international asset, not tied to any specific currency, which is what we've been saying. Bitcoin is the international currency. could serve as an alternative investment option to hedge against inflation and other economic challenges. Now, before I go any further and tell you guys, like, yeah, you guys have seen everything he said. He's talking about the ETF and they've asked him about it and whatnot. We all know that BlackRock is fighting for an ETF. I want to, rewind back a few years. So let's go back to 2017 and see what he was actually saying back then. Hang on a second, let me get rid of this pop-up. So this was, you can see here, so this article I just showed you guys was published on June 6th. I think he went out, he was on the TV maybe June the 5th, July the 5th, sorry. And this article was printed on July the 6th. Now, if we go back to 2017, October 2017, in fact, it was right in the midst of the, not the last bull market, the one before that. And he went up on TV. This is CNN, as you guys can see. Bitcoin just shows how much demand for money laundering there is in the world. Bitcoin prices hit a new record. Think comments came right after JP Morgan, CEO JP Morgan Chase, CEO Jamie Dimon called people who own cryptocurrency stupid. So in here, I guess Bitcoin just shows how much demand for money laundering there is in the world. That's all it is. Cryptocurrency has been, and this is like, look at the price of Bitcoin back then, 5,800. Okay, I wish I can buy Bitcoin at that price right now. People back then saying, I might reach 6,000. And this is just to show you guys the difference that happens before people understand Bitcoin to after they understand Bitcoin, and they realize that Bitcoin is an investment, is a hedge against inflation. That Bitcoin is digitized gold. That Bitcoin is a international currency. Bitcoin is the solution to many of the world's problems today. Fix the money, fix the world. That's the saying I say all the time, and something that we teach in Breakout Solutions. All right, so that's the first of today's articles. Moving on, we've got Mark Cuban, who is another billionaire. So all the billionaires are coming out right now. You can see, and this is going to drive a lot of institutional investment into crypto and Bitcoin. So we've got BlackRock with the ETF. Mark Cuban comes out, slams the SEC, and he says, SEC makes mistake in crypto regulation, calls regulator arrogant. So Mark Cuban, Shark Tank star and owner of NBA team Dallas Maverick, has slammed the U.S. Secretary and Exchange Commission for taking wrong approach to regulating the crypto industry. The SEC is not infallible. It makes mistakes, the billionaire stresses, adding that if the SEC has taken a similar approach to Japan, no one in the US would have lost money when the crypto exchange FTX collapsed. Now, why does he say this? Because in Japan, they actually had laws that for exchanges, they have to keep the client's funds separate from the exchange's funds. So if anything happens to the exchange, the client's funds are safe. And this is why we saw that FTX in Japan did open up, not open up. It released all of their investors' funds. So they did shut down, but they allowed all the investors to remove their funds from FTX Japan because of the laws that they have in Japan. So what Mark Cuban is trying to say is, if the SEC had followed these rules, then people in America and the FTX, the whole FTX fraud thing would not happen. Furthermore, he goes on and says that the other thing is, what happened is in Japan. What was said in Japan was, in Japan they were very loud in saying the obvious that the FTX wasn't a crypto issue; it was a fraud issue. He goes on to say. So, again, the SEC uses the FTX as a crypto issue, but it's not, as we've spoken. It is a fraud issue. It could have happened to anybody, anyone with fiat or not. And as we know, fiat is based on fraud anyway. So this is a very strong article, very strong call out from a pretty prominent billionaire. Next up, we've got another billionaire also attacking the SEC. SEC has pushed investors into toxic crypto products and FTX, Winklevoss. So Gemini co-founder Cameron Winklevoss said the SEC refused to approve spot Bitcoin ETF has been a complete and utter disaster for the US investors. Now, if you don't know who the Winklevoss twins are, they were the guys that actually originally invented Facebook before Zuckerberg stole them off them. Now, they ended up suing him. They won $11 million at the time. They took the whole $11 million and they invested all into Bitcoin. At the time, Bitcoin was around $120 per coin. So they went and spent $11 million into Bitcoin and became billionaires. Okay, so he's come out and said that basically, which we'll go through in his actual tweet. I want to pull up his tweet later on, but basically he's saying that they have filed for a Bitcoin ETF 10 years ago, and the SEC still hasn't approved one. So he's really caught out the toxic behavior of the SEC, because it's allowing like predators like FTX to come online, set up in tax havens, suck people in, and then steal all their money, as we saw. That's it from the news highlights today. Let's move over to the market watch and see what's happening over here in crypto bubbles. Crypto bubbles, we've got Maker, FXS, Flow, Grid, FTT down 30%. So we're seeing a mixed sea of red and green. Majority red being down because, as you guys know, Bitcoin is having a bit of a retracement. It did go over $31,000 yesterday, though. Next up, we've got Bitcoin is down 1.9%. Still has a 49.21 dominance. It's almost over 50%. You guys got to understand, the higher the dominance that Bitcoin has, the stronger it becomes as an asset. Right now, it's almost 50% of the total crypto market. And it's trading at 30,192. Looking at the fear and greed index, we are still in greed. We're still in greed land at 55. Last week we were 53, 56, and last month we were 53. So the crypto market has been quite positive. We've been saying this, guys. The halving is just around the corner, and this is the year to be accumulating. So if you are interested, if you have any thoughts about whether how do you know more about this, we invite you to come to our webinar, Future of Money, which will be holding on the 3rd of August. So go to breakoutnow.co/future of money. Moving over to the Twitter highlights, and we've got over here Cameron Winklevoss, and that's the tweet that we'll talk about in our article. And he goes, today marks 10 years since Tyler and I filed for the first spot Bitcoin ETF. The SEC government's refusal to approve these products for a decade has been complete and utter disaster for US investors, and demonstrates how the SEC is a failed regulator. Here's why. Protected investors from the best performing asset of the last decade, push investors to toxic products like Breakout Bitcoin Trust, which trades at a massive discount to NAV and charges enormous fees, pushes spot Bitcoin activity offshore to unlicensed and unregulated venues, pushes investors into the arms of FTX, subjecting them to one of the largest financial frauds in modern history. So this is showing all the staunch stand by the SEC, how it's forcing people to do things that are actually making them lose money. Which is, I agree with him. They need to have better laws and better regulation, because right now the lack of clarity is causing havoc in the market, which is what they really want to do. Because as you guys can see, now they're all coming in to do their Bitcoin ETFs. Now, do you think these guys have not been accumulating Bitcoin? These guys are the richest companies in the world. We went through this last week, over $27 trillion under management by the companies that have applied for a Bitcoin ETF. They've been causing all this havoc in the market so they can get Bitcoin cheap. Now, do as they do, and you should be buying Bitcoin now. Dollar cost average to Bitcoin never goes wrong. And we're actually going to look at an article that proves that. Anybody that's been holding Bitcoin now for over a year, it should be in profit. Moving over to the last tweet of the day, and we've got one of my favorites, Mr. Michael Saylor. Bitcoin is digital gold, Larry Fink at BlackRock CEO. And then he shows the price of Bitcoin from when he started. So he started buying in August 2020 and started accumulating Bitcoin, and he's still up 161% since then. Next up, we're going to go over to our adoption highlights. Okay, over $45 billion in BTC gradually amassed by long-term Bitcoin holders, says analytic firm Glassnode. So long-term holders have been gradually accumulating Bitcoin for nearly 2 years, according to the crypto analytics firm Glassnode. Glassnode noticed that in a new tweet that the long-term holders have amassed 1.01 million Bitcoin over the past 602 days, bringing the cohort's total supply to 14.47 million Bitcoin, just 220,000 short of the all-time high. So this is showing that we've got a lot of long-term holders, and long-term holders have been accumulating and being dollar cost averaging in on average. And what they're looking at here at wallets with less than 1 Bitcoin. So they call them shrinks, okay? And these are wallets that have less than 1 Bitcoin. And they're saying that these wallets are working really, really hard to accumulate Bitcoin over the past couple of years, accumulating at 33,400 Bitcoin per month collectively. So there's been over 130 out of the 5,263 total trading days, roughly 2.5 that have recorded a larger monthly position change. The shrimp cohort holds 1.33 million Bitcoin. So these are people like you and I trying to become a whole coiner and trying get a coin for like I've got a goal. Obviously, one of my goals is to have a coin for each person in my family, so that I can give that to them as my legacy. Next up, Lightning Labs unveils Bitcoin tool for AI. So in this article, Lightning Lab announces a new set of tools to build on Lightning Network and Bitcoin-powered AI products for global audience. So what they've actually added is they speak about how ChatGPT is being used for with other companies to pay for things, but they are doing it through the fiat system, so people get charged all the fees, etc. What they've done now is they've actually created or installed AI over the layer, which now allows it to send Bitcoin on your behalf. And last but not least, guys, we've got Nambia, which is a small African country, has passed a bill to regulate crypto and digital assets. Now, I know this may not be big news, but what is important to know here, and what I want to show you guys, is the change that's happening globally. The people's appetite, the people's view, the people's approach to Bitcoin has been changing globally. Okay, and Nambia has joined other African nations in embracing cryptocurrencies and digital assets by approving a bill in the National Assembly. The bill basically, which goes to Parliament, regulates digital assets, cryptocurrencies. It means that they can now be traded, they can be now used as investments. Okay, there is laws against anti-money laundering and financing of terrorism, etc. But what is important is to look at, and there's still a tough law that if you don't comply, you're up to 10 years prison and pay almost $700,000 in fines. But what's important to know is that the bank is now changing its position. The bank's position indicates that it still associates some risk with virtual assets and they're not accepted as a form of legal tender. However, the bank in 2017 announced it's strongly against the use of cryptocurrency as a method of payment, and it states that they are illegal in their country. So we're going from, they are completely opposed to it, to now saying, okay, you can use it within this realm. This is how banks change and how how countries change their opinion. They slowly start moving along the spectrum. Now we've got the option, you and I have the option to either, put our wealth in the hard assets such as Bitcoin, or put it in the fiat system where somebody else has unlimited printing power to print for them, but not for you and I. With Bitcoin, nobody has that printing power, not even you and I. And this is why we're starting to see a shift, even the people that I think. So that's it for me, guys. A lot of great news coming out today, a lot of positive news today. So hopefully that will leave you on a high for the weekend and excited, anticipating the crypto market as we head into the bull run and things start to heat up. If you haven't joined our Future of Money event, please do so now, and make sure that if you are on YouTube, to like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That's it for me, guys. As always, peace out and stay crypto.